Did you know goldenrod makes an excellent tea?
Happy birthday to me. Happy birthday, dear Aaron.
Me. You are a sad, strange little man, and you have my pity.
Or what's inside. You suck. Finally, we're going to reveal the... Hey everybody, welcome back to Tomic's veteran of the comic book industry for 30 years I'm a writer, I'm an artist, and this sucks.
Stew, and her name is Minerva. Ouch. She's the flower of the coward. Ouch.
Don't start! We haven't left yet!
All right, show of hands. How many people have been out pulling weeds today? Anyone? Anyone else? That's what we always do on Mother's Day. It's a family tradition. Not really, but I was pulling weeds. So happy Mother's Day to everybody out there. Any mothers out there that may or may not be watching, happy Mother's Day to you. I was going to bring Shelly on today, and she had a pretty bad headache and overslept. And so she's like, oh, I'm sorry. I'm like, hey, you come back when you're ready to rock and roll. So there's, so you almost got a Shelly sighting, but not quite. You are, however, watching Aaron live. I am Aaron, and I am still alive. I don't know if you guys noticed on the, what do you call it? The title card, I guess, for the show. I had a picture of Kurt Russell as McCready from The Thing on there, and he had brown hair and blue eyes. And I thought, now I did have brown hair when I had hair, and it wasn't gray. And I thought, if I'd had brown hair and blue eyes and never lost my hair, how would my life be different right now? That's something to think about. Because blue eyes, I mean, that's, you always see these people with dark hair or brown hair with blue eyes, and they're all in Hollywood. Every single one of them. No one's just walking around with dark hair and blue eyes. So I'm thinking I might have a lot more money and be a lot more successful if I had blue eyes and kept my hair. You got to keep your hair. You can't pull any of this stuff. You gotta keep your hair. So unless you're Jean-Luc Picard. Now, I don't know if he had blue hair or not, but he, I think he did all right in terms of success and money and that kind of thing. Leg kick for $5. Now, leg kick is here because leg kick is almost always here. It says, get well, Shelly. We miss you. What do you think of the Thing prequel? Shelly doesn't think anything of the Thing prequel because she hasn't seen it. I don't think anything of it because I haven't seen it, because what is the freaking point? What I always do is I read reviews. I do never go to a movie. If it gets nothing but bad reviews, then it's like, why am I going to waste my money on this? If it gets mixed reviews and it's something you want to see, you think, okay, you know what? I'm going to roll the dice. I'm going to go. Of course, if it gets great reviews, you're like, oh, I've got to go see this. The Thing prequel did not get good reviews. And I just felt like, and special effects were going to be CGI. And it's just like, come on, man. That's what makes the Thing so great. One of the many things that makes the Thing so great is the practical effects by Rob Bottin. And just, I'm a big Kurt Russell fan. So, and he wasn't in the, so now it just didn't. It's like all the subsequent Alien movies. It's like, I just don't care. I saw the first one, incredible. Saw the second one, James Cameron, of course, was great. But it went from being a horror film. The first one was a horror film. The second one was an action adventure film, but still was a great film. And then I went and saw 3, which I thought sucked. And then that was it. I was done, So now if they were to remake or do a sequel to the Thing, because like a prequel, it's kind of like, I don't need to see the same movie over again. That's exactly what it was. Even without seeing it, I can tell you it's probably exactly what it was. And then just with different characters. So, of course, Leg Kick had brought up in the chat that maybe they're going to do a sequel featuring Kurt Russell's son as MacReady. And I imagine with him, if they gave him long hair and a beard, he looks a lot like his dad. It might work. But then again, it probably won't, because all that stuff, whenever you have a movie that's like a classic and then they do sequels or prequels, or they just don't compare. It's like, if that movie is too good, and it's like, you just need to leave it alone. But I'm not saying I wouldn't go see it, but I might not. I might not. Stealth X5 for $2 says hello. Thank you, Stealth. Appreciate it very much. All right, let's see who's got stuff cooking in the chat. There's Creative Fay. Now, Creative Fay is going to be dropping by for a few minutes later in the show for Creator's Corner. We're going to take a look at her children's book. So hang on to your hats for that one. Sequential Artist is here. Greetings, Aaron, and the chat. Just waiting here a little bit. See what happens. Oh, you'll see what happens. I get the MacReady line. I'm not dumb. Pastmaster Dan is here, of course. Pity Maw, he says, Aaron, pull the trigger on Sword and Sorcery book. Your postings of Death Dealer, Conan, and Dark Wolf are fire. Okay, well, here's the thing. I have a fantasy project that's kind of like Lord of the Rings type stuff. So I guess, does that count as Sword and Sorcery? And then I have like a barbarian dinosaur thing that isn't really Sword and Sorcery. It's more dinosaur thing. And then I've been talking about doing a Savage Tales type magazine where I would come up with some new concept for that. I do have a concept, this kind of like Viking chick that fights Yetis. But I don't know if that's really what I would do for Savage Tales. I kind of want to do more of a Conan type thing or something like that. So I don't know. I don't know which direction to go there. So we'll be exploring this in the coming months as I finish up Wraith of God, and the next book is on the horizon. Let's see, Michelle Bowers. Michelle Bowers has a sword, so be careful around Michelle. Randy Howell, all the way from Canada. Iodine 74 is joining us. How about that? Pantheon. Corey Landis says, I'm here to drink root beer and not find Bigfoot, and I'm all out of root beer. Well, I can guarantee you're not going to find Bigfoot. There will be some myth peddlers shots and videos today that will, as we attempt to find Bigfoot, but I don't know how convincing any of them truly are. Marcus Killigrew, purveyor of all things pop culture knowledge, is joining us. Past Master Dan says weed eater. Yeah, but they just grow back. You got to pull them out by the roots if you really want to slow the growth. Chris says, I went to the movies to see The Accountant 2 for Mother's Day. I thought The Accountant 1 was okay. So I don't know. Is The Accountant 2 better or worse or about the same? I don't know. You'll have to tell us. Spaceman is here. Henry Thrune. I haven't seen Henry in a while. Gave Henry a wrench and then he disappears. He says, I watched The Thing for the first time a few weeks ago with my boys. How old are your boys? Jeez, man, that's pretty intense. And let's see here. Merilith 2005. Wait, I misread it as Aaron's thing. You guys are your dirty minds. Meredith saying Aaron hair is overrated. It's become that way in my life for sure. Henry says, I have blue eyes and most of my hair. I'm still not a success. Yes, but you appear to be a ginger in your picture. And you know, there's all kinds of problems with gingers in Hollywood, apparently. So I respect gingers, though. You have my respect, Henry. Heat Miser's here. Henry, Heat Miser says, the evening all. Not Aaron and I didn't go anywhere with Heat Miser, but Aaron, I went to the new Universal Studios Orlando theme park, Epic Universe, which has a Universal Monster area. I've seen it or seen pictures. David Williams keeps sending me pictures. What do you think? What do you think of this? The whole land is great, but the dark ride they have is amazing. Check it out. Is it like a roller coaster type ride that would make me barf? Because I get motion sick really easy. And I have to kind of avoid, I can do Thunder Mountain Railroad at Disneyland. Because, it's really high speed and it's not too crazy. But I get barfy. I did the, what is it a Universal? No, maybe it's a Universal in Florida. The Yeti, I think it's called, or something like that, and it's a huge roller coaster. My son twisted my arm, talked me into it. I was like, I almost puked on Space Mountain. That's how much of a wimp I am. So I have to be careful about that stuff. There's sequential treasures. James is in the house. If Creative Fay says the Thing 2 or the horrible movie, they couldn't even get the dog right. If you can't get the dog right, Past Master Dan says, I'm finally going to watch Moon Knight. I'm not. Oscar Isaac's too short. Quit casting like 5'4" guys as superheroes. That's all I ask. Is that too much to ask? I think apparently it is. Andy Dallas says Savage Ales. Savage Ales. I get it. Sequential artist for 10. Today's episode reminds me of it just started. Today's episode reminds me of a story where Ben Grimm teamed up with Man-Thing to take on the Thing from another planet. It ended up with an explosion in the sky and all things were looking up. I don't even really. I mean, I appreciate the money. I really do. I guess paying me money is a good way to get your bad jokes in. And sequential artiste is like king of the bad joke. And he pays for it, but that's fine. I can't really complain. If you're going to send me super chats with bad jokes attached to them, I guess I'm all for it. If I do that, I look like George Lucas. I don't have the thing yet. Well, hopefully I won't develop it. Oh, he says, my boys are 20 and 14. Okay, that's fine then. Let's see. Past Master Dan. Ouch. Henry. He goes, just my beard is ginger. If I have your respect, that's all that matters. Thank you, says Henry. Then that is doesn't matter. Your picture, if that's truly you've totally, your picture is totally gingerized. So your head is your hair looks red as well as your beard. So, anyway, what else we got here? Chris says you can skip the Moon Knight show and just read the books. Yeah, probably. Heat Miser's saying the main ride is a dark ride that has most amazing animatronics with all the monsters. They do have a Wolfman spinning roller coaster as well. Neither were nauseating, and I hate spinning. Okay. I'm a bit of a wimp when it comes to that. My picture is AI. Sheila Aliens made it for me back in the day. Sheila Aliens. Whatever happened to Sheila Aliens? She used to be around all the time, and now you don't see her posting. You don't see her on anybody's show. It's my dog barking. That you can count on. That is like clockwork for the Sunday show. And I ordered something for Shelly for Mother's Day, but it got here yesterday. So what is his problem? Well, yeah, I mean, after you didn't find it very scary. I don't know, man. The effects are gross, but it's more intense because it's like, who's who? That's kind of the fun of it, I guess. And then we'll be talking about that later in the old show. Now, usually we do Frazetta of the day, but we are going to do Frazetta of the day, but not the way you think. I've got my first sponsorship, like real sponsorship. Well, it's kind of a sponsorship trade kind of deal. Our friends over at American Hero, American Hero Collectibles? Okay, they've done this Frazetta book. They're doing a series of them, and what they've done is they put them in. They categorized them, right, so that you don't have just like a hodgepodge of Frazetta illustration. They're thematic to the books, and they've come out with their first one, which is called the Frazetta Gallery Series. This is called Terror, and this is the softcover one, and it's got really large, well done or well reproduced horror paintings. Okay, so just his horror stuff. No, not all of his horror stuff, but there are 5 pieces in here that I'd never seen before, which shocked me. Because I have like 38 Frazetta books, and I was like, there's no way there's going to be anything in here I haven't seen before. And by golly, there was. So there is this, there's the soft cover version, right? Now, I did an unboxing video that's been posted on my channel if you want to see a deep dive into these. But there's the soft cover, and there's the hardcover, which I didn't actually open on the unboxing video. So we're going to take a quick look at this, but this is the hardcover. Okay. And this has a few more pieces in it than the soft cover does. 1 or 2, maybe a couple more than that. I shouldn't say for sure. I don't know. Now, what you've got in here in the hardcover is you've got a few more pieces of artwork, but you've got articles about Frazetta, right? And so you have the horror art of Frank Frazetta by Peter Normanton. I don't know who that is, but he must be somebody of special note, or he wouldn't be in the book. Just because I don't know who they are doesn't mean that they're not, important. He may very well have dark hair and blue eyes. So there's it's a nice, several pages of that, and then there's imagining the parts left unused by David Palumbo. Okay, so we have another write-up in here in the hardcover that's not in the soft cover. Then we got Haunted Pleasures by Ed Binkley, another, it has some more artwork in there, but it's a nice article, and there's drawings and photos as he talks about Frazetta. And then you have this defining undefinable image by Brahm, who of course is an oil painter, illustrator, does a lot of dark and horror type stuff. And that's in here. It's a 2-page thing. This is also in the soft cover, but the other ones are not. So you get a couple more pieces of artwork in here that are not in the soft cover. Like, for example, that piece which they use for the cover of the book, is not in the soft cover. I think there's a couple others. So, you know, this is $49.99, so it's not bad. And these are large books. Okay. They're about 12 by 15 and a half or something. I guessed on my video that they were like 12 by 16, but I was very close. So there's a soft cover, the hard cover, and then there's the there's the special hardcover slipcase numbered edition. And this is the one that I really went a deep dive on the on my video. So check that out. But it comes with a lenticular, is that what it's called? Like a 3D kind of lenticular print. And it on the back of it, it has basically your, like this is the numbered edition, right? So there's 552 copies. 500 are numbered, 1 through 500 for sale, and 52 are lettered contributor copies. So I got S. That means I'm a contributor, because they contacted me and said, hey man, would you do an unboxing and preview this book if we sent you a copy? And I went, yeah. So I didn't expect them to send me all 3 versions, but they did. And so I said, heck yeah, I'll preview it. So this has, I think, a couple more pieces in it that are not in the regular hardcover edition. It has all of the articles in there. This is a nice matte finish. They're all nice matte finish. I like to think that I started the matte finish trend because everything used to be gloss, right? The thing with gloss is it shows fingerprints. So I started doing Wraith of Gods as a matte finish. Now everybody does it. Everybody just copies me. But it's so much nicer because you don't get any reflection, right? So you can actually do a video like this and you don't get those like spots of light on there because it's the matte finish. And this on the spine is this linen. It's this really nice like linen tape type thing that it's not on the other books. It's just a really nice, all 3 are really, really nice put together packages. And so you have 3. This is 125, I think. The hardcover is $49.99. The soft cover is $29, maybe. I don't know. I'm not sure. You have to look. But look at that. It's just your opening right there. You get a nice little quote from Frazetta in there. These are nice books. Now, they're not comprehensive by any stretch of the imagination, right? Because obviously, you know, you can't really do that in one volume unless it's one of those gigantic ones I got from Tashin, which I also did, and I did a preview video a while ago. So this is now my 39th Frazetta book. I guess I need to get one more to get to 40 or something. I'm going to have to count again. If I'm already 40, I'm going to stop. But no, I'm not. So anyway, they're publishing. This is the first one. And look at this. Look at this little metal, embossed metal plate on here. That's really cool. And so this is the numbered edition, hardcover slipcase edition. Very, very nice. Really well put together. Very, you know, they did a really nice job on the reproduction and the package. It's just it's all really, really nice. So if you're into Frazetta, like most of us are, you got a little extra cash after you back Wraith of God 3, of course, then go to their website. You'll find a link in the description of this video. I'm going to show this real quick. I'm so excited that I actually got kind of like a sponsorship in a weird way. Okay, that's Wraith of God 3. We'll get to that later. Here we go. American Hero Collectibles, right? So the next one coming out is the Warriors. So we're going to assume that's got all the Conan stuff. And then they've got Adventurers after that. You see, that looks like the John Carter stuff. And there's the Terror stuff. And I think there's even more planned. Yeah, there you go. Sirens. So I guess that's kind of femme fatale kind of stuff. So that's 4 of them that they're planning on doing all this oversized. These are really, really cool. So let's see. What are the let's click on the learn more. Let's click on the learn more. Okay, so this probably has the, yeah, see the soft cover, which is a nice book, $29.95. hardcover, $49.95. And then, of course, the slipcase numbered limited edition, 125, only 500 copies. Again, I understand that the soft cover is probably going to be in most of you guys' price range. But again, this is the soft cover. It's really nice. Really, matte finish, really heavy, nice paper quality. The printing quality on these are super nice. So anyway, it gets a high recommendation from me. So again, you guys want to check out that FRAZETTA book. The link's in the description. American Hero Collectible. Henry Thrun says my price range is $0 these days. I haven't got to that point yet, but wouldn't that be great? Use the code Aaron and save an additional 10%. I'm still hoping for that Taco Bell sponsorship. We shall see. Corn Zenith all the way from Australia for $2. Thank you. Back Wraith of God 3, then FRAZETTA, right? Looks good, Aaron. That's my preferred order, of course. Yeah, there's when I got that huge FRAZETTA book by Tashin, excuse me, I was like, that's it. I'm not doing another FRAZETTA book. And I believe it's, where is that giant thing? It's back there behind that stack of books. You can see the cardboard right there creeping out. It's a giant coffee table book. I did a video on it. So if you want to see what it is, check that out on my YouTube channel, which this is right now. You're actually watching my YouTube channel, but I have live videos, and then I have like, what do they call them? Not live videos. But I said, that's it. That's because I got all the FRAZETTA books, almost all the FRAZETTA books that ever came out. But then this came out, and I was like, And then they said, okay, we'll send you a copy. And I'm like, okay, I'm for that. And then when I saw that there was like images in there that I hadn't seen before, that's what you want, right? You want the entire collection. And let me show you the one I'd never seen before. Maybe you guys have seen it, but I had not seen it. This one right here. I mean, there's 5 in here I hadn't seen, but this I was just shocked. So this is like Dracula's Daughter or something, or Bride of Dracula. I had never seen this. It makes you wonder how there could be that many books on FRAZETTA, and there's still stuff sitting there in his house, in his studio, in his museum, whatever, that hasn't seen the light of day. It's incredible, but there you go. Yeah, there's live videos and dead videos. I think that's right. Caleb Reynolds is here. Woohoo! What's up, Aaron and the chat? Happy Mother's Day, all. Thank you. 9.4. There's always just gotta get the jabs in. Gotta get the CGC jabs in. But that's okay. Fine. You go ahead and do that, Pats Master Dan, because I'm right. There. Thank you, Creative Fay. Recorded videos. Is that what it actually says, though? Is that actually the whatever? The listing? I think it's just video. I don't know. I'd have to go look, and I'm not going to do it. While we're here doing promotional advertisement, let me do this real quick. Yeah, Wraith of God, Fear Hollow. That's Wraith of God number 3. It's the 3rd graphic novel, and it guaranteed to have a matte finish cover, and guaranteed to have a lot of pages in it too. 64 pages to be exact. So the Wraith and Esther go up against an old nemesis, the Headless Horseman. There's a little history there. We get a little flashback, get a little bit of origin, a little extra origin, like early stuff that kind of set the Wraith on his path before his vision from God that he had. So interesting stuff there. And This is probably the scariest. I was definitely the scariest one I've written so far. And I'm really happy with how the story has turned out. Now, if I can just get the art done, we got ourselves a project. But I'm more than halfway done. But so you have cover option A, you got cover option B, which is your EC variant, your 1972 Marvel variant, or of course the great Chris Stevens did a painted cover for this. And it's interesting because the original is much more color. Like the Wraith is blue, more blue than I made him here. And Chris really knocked the color back in the one he sent me. And I kind of raised the color level just a little bit. And who knows, I might go full on brightness when we go to publication. We shall see. But anyway, that's a great cover. You can back it and it wouldn't hurt my feelings. Here's some original art from the actual issue, all colored by Jason Wright. And look at this. We'll show you the original here, but you see that? I'll show the original later. But that is the Empire Comics value stamp that will be in this book as one of the very first stretch goal. And that is, of course, our good friend Garbage Man. I haven't colored it yet, but it will be colored soon. And then, of course, I'll get the colored version posted up here. We'll take a look at the original art, like I said, later on. And that'll also be for sale on this campaign. How about that? You can get the Wraith of God, the Nouveau print. There's 500 signed and numbered. Once we get to 500, it's all over, baby. So you want to add that to your order. Wraith of God Roughs Volume 3. This is layouts for the book. And not all 64 pages, but 48 pages of layouts, and only the best for you guys. Kind of lets you pull the curtain back, see the process. So these are kind of fun. They're signed and numbered, and they're printed to order. So there won't be any there'll be maybe 10 or 20 extras just in case of damages and things like that. So if you want to get one of these, you better get it while the campaign's live. Nightclub shot glasses is the fourth in a series of 6 shot glasses, laser etched for your convenience. You can put them in the washing machine, the dishwasher is what I'm trying to say, and it won't affect them. It will get them clean if you put soap in, but it won't affect the laser etching. Clay poker chips, a commemorative set of 3 of them. Here they are: Wraith, Esther, and Keown's Werewolf. And also you can get back issues. That's the first issue, second printing with a new cover. And that, of course, is the wraparound, award-winning wraparound cover for issue 2, Wraith of God Blood Hunters. So you can get caught up on all your Wraith of God reading. You'll find a link in the description of this video. Take you right to this campaign. Back early, back often. Help us. We're almost, look at that. We are almost to 80,000. We get to 80,000. That's another stretch goal, another trading card. I'll show you one of the trading cards, some original art later on in the show. So a lot of good stuff coming up. And this is gonna be a little bit of a shorter show because it is Mother's Day and I got a meal to cook, but we'll still cram everything in. So anyway, there you go. Link in the description. Thank you so much. All right, hang on, Creative Fay. I see you there. Sequential for $5.08, and I appreciate the extra 8 cents. Any chance the Imperious origin story drawn by David could be included in a future Empire Comics campaign? Yeah. I mean, I already paid for 4 pages, so it'd be nice if we get it all done. And but that sequential art is saying, oh, so it's not going to be in this one. Well, unless we get to 100K, which it doesn't seem to be trending that direction. I hate to be all negative Nelly, but I was a little surprised. I figured we'd hit 100 easy. Joe Biden's economy hasn't been kind, so we'll see how it all turns out by the time we're done. But it will get used someplace. But thank you for the $5.08, and thank you for not including a bad joke this time around. Did I get everything I have so far? Okay, good. All right. I do this little segment every once in a while when we bring a new creator on to hawk their wares. It's called Creator's Corner, and we're going to do it again now. That was a little shorter than I thought it was going to be. Okay, everybody, you know her from the chat, but she's also just recently done a children's book, and we'll talk about that. You know her as Creative Fay. If she wants to give you her real name, I'll let her do that. I won't do it, but everybody, welcome, Creative Fay.
Hello, Aaron.
Hey, can I use your real name?
Yeah, you can.
Hello, April. How are you?
I am good. It's first time being in the hot seat, right?
Yeah, exactly. Let's see how you handle it. No, I've got
By the
plenty
way,
of questions
thank
for you. We got plenty of questions for you. So you've got a children's book that's on Amazon right now.
Yes.
And there is a link in the description of this video that take you guys right there to check it out. And we'll actually take a look at it in a few minutes. But so it's called The Patient Rock, correct?
Correct.
All right, give us a rundown on this. What exactly is it? And let me pull up your as you're talking and telling us
I
about
also
this.
have a little sample copy,
Oh,
but it's a short story, little fantasy story about a troll with no name that befriends a human girl who promises to help them find a name. So they go on a little adventure, and it's kind of like a domestic adventure because they don't go like far and wide, but from each other they learn patience and about telling the truth and what it means to be alive. Yeah.
So is this is a, I know you sent me a copy and it's sitting over in my must read pile. So you know how that goes. But as I recall, I did flip through it. As I recall, this is a text story with spot illustrations, right?
Correct.
It's not a graphic novel.
Yeah. So I can show a few samples.
Here, let me make you, let's pull you up bigger. Okay, here you go. So I like that. That's, I haven't seen, and maybe I just haven't looked, but I haven't seen a lot of, books with spot illustrations, which I really like. You get the little chapter headings, and you have a little illustration there that go, yeah, those are always fun, and they're very kind of throwback, at least for me. That's how I look at them, is because we don't see that stuff that much anymore. So what was the impetus? Where did this come from? Why a children's book?
So it started as a self-directed project that, because at my first college, they had where if you talked to a teacher and you wanted to do a independent study with them, you would set it up and you'd drive the project on like what you would do for the project. And so it started out as that, where it was a self-directed project. I wanted to write a short story because I like writing and I like storytelling. That's why I'm going into comics too. But so it started from there. I worked with a teacher who was also a writer, and she was the design history teacher at the school. And so I brought to her the project that I wanted to do, and I chose to do something a little bit lighter because a few of my other short stories had a little bit darker endings. And
you got to be careful, right? You don't want to get too.
Yeah, and that teacher I knew was had a little bit of PTSD, so I didn't want to make something that would cause her issues. So I went with a children's story, and I always liked trolls. So,
well, did you conceptualize it a children's book, or was it just a story you felt like there's nothing really too violent or too whatever that this would work good as a children's book, or was it conceptualized as a children's project right from the get-go?
It was conceptualized as a children's project. Part of my thinking was that a lot of times with like especially children's books now, they always try to dumb down the writing, and so part of my approach was just to approach it as I would write for anyone else. So there is larger words. So like the character ponders about something. So giving the kids food for thought on trying to learn more language too.
Well, so this is more like when you say a children's book, it's not like a children's picture book, obviously. It's more like, um, uh, what am I trying? Not Lord of the Rings, but the other one. Help me out. What's the other fantasy one that uh, with Aslan and all those guys? See, I put you on the
Lion
spot.
Witch in the Wardrobe.
There you go. Yeah. Is it
C.S.
more
Lewis.
kind of in that sort of like maybe old, like 8, 9-year-old? I mean, what age group is this put into, do you think?
Yeah, probably 8, 9-year-old. But then I've always believed that in order to actually learn things, you kind of have to push yourself in the act of learning.
Mm-hmm.
So while it's probably more geared towards a little bit older, I think younger kids could probably get into it too, with parents reading it and stuff.
Right. Excellent. So tell me a little bit about your background, and then I want to get into how you set up your Amazon store, which maybe people don't care about, but is of interest to me. So I'm going to ask anyway. But first of all, so you went to art college, correct?
Correct.
Where was that at? And what was your, I mean, have you always been someone who drew, and this is something you always wanted to do? Is it something you discovered later? Or, I mean, how did that all come out?
A little of both. So I was about 11 when I first started really getting into drawing.
Mm-hmm.
And then about 6th grade, I read The Invisible Man, and that inspired me to go into storytelling, because I looked up on the author too, and I saw that he was not just a writer, but he was also a scientist. Mm-hmm. And I liked that aspect of where you have multiple facets of who you are instead of just one thing. So that was kind of my driving force.
You're referring to H.G. Wells, of course, who wrote Invisible Man. So you wrote, it wasn't like a Classics Illustrated adaptation of it was comic. It was you actually read the book.
Yes.
Okay.
You froze, or
yes.
Maybe it might.
I watched the movie. So
the movie is pretty far off. Like, he never derails a train.
Yeah.
And he didn't have a girlfriend in the book.
It's easier to read a movie than it is to read a book. So, but anyway, I'm certainly not denigrating anyone who reads. I think that's a great pursuit. So anyway, go ahead.
After The Invisible Man, I jumped into War of the Worlds too. So so I was a big fan of it.
So it was like, this was a discovery of H.G. Wells, and suddenly you were like, I got to read more of this guy?
Yeah. And then later I got into fantasy. So I started out sci-fi and then went into fantasy, and then
were your proclivities always that? I mean, a lot of people, I mean, they discover stuff, but they always gravitate towards it. And I was someone that always gravitated towards monsters early on, and then it became comic books and fantasy and stuff. So
I also gravitated towards monsters. I drew a lot of them.
Why do you think that is? I'm curious to hear your response to that, because I know why I think it is for me, but I'm just curious as an artist, why?
Well, growing up, I remember watching as a kid a lot of X-Files, Star Trek Voyager, and there was always like a monster movie on and stuff like that. So it was just kind of in that atmosphere of things, of what I grew up in.
Okay. So just a logical extension of what you were exposed to, and then became. See, I always thought that, because I'm not necessarily a big horror fan. I've talked about this before. I'm more of a monster fan, and I always thought it was the I will stay away from a monster movie if I don't think the makeup is good, if I don't think the design is good, right? So there's that sort of artistic element that and the freedom to draw fantasy where you're not drawing, cars that have to look a certain way or people dress a certain way, where you can make stuff up. That's always been very appealing to me, and I think that's probably why I gravitated first to monster movies, but then, of course, to fantasy and heroic fantasy, because just the freedom of, like I've always said, I'd rather draw a jungle comic with dinosaurs than a superhero comic in Manhattan, right?
Yeah.
So I think there's that element to it, but I was just curious, because a lot of us are, as you said, products of the environment, that whatever we're exposed to early on, and we either reject it or we kind of gravitate towards it. And it sounds like you gravitated towards it, and
at first.
So
Um,
was it your dream growing up that you wanted to be an artist?
yeah, I wanted to create a world, so I did get into animation for a little while, and so like I did like animes and stuff like that, and those are part of my inspiration history, like Secret of Nim,
Oh, I love that movie.
Atlantis.
My wife hates that movie, or no, it's my daughter. One of them hates. I think it's my daughter hates that movie. Thinks it's too scary or something. And she's 23. So, but I mean, I love that movie.
Yeah, I grew up on that movie, just like the Hobbit, the animated one from 1977.
Right, Rob
Loved that
Action.
movie as a kid. Even the public school I went to in elementary, they had the characters painted on the walls in the
Oh.
library, so that was pretty cool.
So
So
you were getting it from all sides. Man. That's
yeah, which was funny that I never read The Hobbit or like Lord of the Rings till later. I'm just getting into Lord of the Rings now.
That's a thick book, man.
Yeah,
It's intimidating. I don't
Yeah.
think they even attempted that till I was in high school. It's kind of like reading Frankenstein. It's not something you're going to pick up when you're in grade school. You're like, too many words.
yeah, and you know, in high school when I was getting into like manga and stuff, I did start drawing my own comics and stuff, and so comics was another thing that was always kind of there in the background, but I didn't really realize what that pathway was until later.
Now, when you say comics, are you talking about manga specifically, or just American comics, or both? Or
Both, because when I was a kid, I remember discovering a stack of comics. They were like the Jack Chick comics.
yeah, the Christian comics that were like
Yeah.
really intense, like you fighting
Yeah.
Satan worshipers, and
Yeah,
exactly.
the one called Power, the Seed of Power, that one scared the tar out of me as a kid because it had like all the demons and stuff on the chair and stuff. And I was like,
those were intense, man.
yeah, and I remember the Noah Ark one with the people climbing at each other. And then when you and when you showed the Frazetta image of him fighting the mammoth, it reminded me of the because Jack Chick had one where it was like Primitive Man or something like that. So
I remember that one, yeah.
Yeah, so I saw those as a kid, and I remember those covers even today, even though I haven't seen them in years.
Yeah, they were all over the place. Even when I was a kid. So, and you're considerably younger than me, so that's amazing that they lasted as long as they did in circulation. But I remember there was one where these guys were driving on this road, and this kind of like freaked out dude, and he had a human finger in his mouth, and it was like the one with the Satan worshipers, and they had to go and it's just like, I'm this 12-year-old kid going, hey.
Yeah. And then
do you have favorite artists, or was there like certain fantasy artists or comic book artists that you gravitated towards and kind of like sort of used as inspiration?
Not till more recently when I started going to school and like discovering like the people. Mostly it was writers starting out that inspired me, and then I did read like an X-Men comic in elementary, and then later I saw the movie Man-Thing. and I liked the character design, so I went into the comics.
Yeah, the classic.
And the first comic I read with Man-Thing was one from 2011, which I'm not sure if you've heard of it, but it was called The Fearsome Four. Had Howard the Duck, Frankenstein, She-Hulk, and Nighthawk, and then Man-Thing.
That's 5.
Well, Man-Thing, they were trying to stop him because he's rampaging.
Oh, okay, so he was the bad guy. The Fearsome Four.
Yeah.
Nighthawk. Okay,
Yeah.
Howard the Duck, Nighthawk, She-Hulk, and who was the other one in there?
Frankenstein. Frankenstein's monster.
I don't get that. Can you explain how this team came together? Was there a story that showed their origin or something?
Yeah, it wasn't the one that I read. It was there was a event series called Fear Itself.
Yes, I remember that.
And so it was one of the stories from there. from that event series. And so Howard the Duck is in like New York, and he runs across I think it was he runs across She-Hulk, and he's trying to get her help because he knows that with all the fear stewing in the city, that's going to draw Man-Thing into the city.
No, I know that Howard the Duck has a relationship. When I say relationship, it means he's friends with She-Hulk because he appeared in She-Hulk. So, okay, that makes sense. I'm with you so far. Go ahead.
And then Nighthawk was like beating up some criminals, and I think it was Man-Thing was going through and causing havoc, and so he shows up with them. And then later Frankenstein shows up because the main bad guy that's like fueling all the fear, who's called a psychic man or something like that. So he has like a board that controls emotions, and he was ramping up the fear because he wants to capture Man-Thing, and he had tried to brainwash Frankenstein, but he like breaks free of it and joins the team with the others.
That's the nuttiest thing I've ever heard in my life. How long would it take Man-Thing to walk from Florida up to New York? You know what I mean? It's like.
And then they were doing the thing where, like, because he's like fueled with so much fear that he's manipulating like the fabric of all reality. So he turns them into alternates of themselves too. And at some point,
Green Laser says it was Psycho Man.
That's it.
Here's the thing. That there's actually someone else in the chat that knows about this besides you. This is like the craziest thing I've ever heard, at least in the last 15 years. Although I thought that that Avengers series they did where they was it the Dark Event, whatever, that had Conan in it and the Punisher and Brother Voodoo and Venom, and I was like, this has got to be the stupidest thing ever. And I read it and it was actually pretty good. So I guess it's not the concept, it's how you do it, right?
Well, then they have them fight the new Fantastic Four, which was Ghost Rider, Spider-Man, Wolverine, and the Hulk.
Wait a minute, they fought them, and how old was it? That was in the 80s, wasn't it, that they did that?
Yeah, it was in 2011 that this book came out.
Okay, so because that...
It was a 4-issue story.
Because I remember that new FF, and Art Adams did those 2 issues, and that was a while ago. I know it was in the late 80s, or maybe I'm just high, but I think it was anyway. But
in the trade paperback, they had Deadpool, but I didn't read the Deadpool story. I just read the Man-Thing story.
Of course, that sounds like something I would do. Oh, Man-Thing, I'll read that. Okay, we're way off base there. That was interesting. That's the craziest thing I've ever heard. Okay.
Yeah, and then
so we're back let's get back to college. Let's get back in school.
Yes.
So it sounds to me like your idea was that you wanted to be a writer, and then you started thinking, well, I can illustrate my own stories and things like that, right? And so you kind of became this double threat, shall we say? Yeah. So you decided to go to art school, right? Rather than, say, I don't know. What do writers go to? They take like literature or something in college? I mean, I don't have any idea.
You would take like the liberal arts, and I know there's master's degrees in creative writing.
Okay. So did you consider that, or did you say, no, give me your thought process that got you to art?
Yeah, I did consider it at one point, but then I've been drawing so long, and I was already doing some of my own comics, but I didn't quite understand the medium. So I was like, that was part of why I went to my first college, was because I wanted to learn more about comics and how to make them. Sure. And that one, the comic classes were more like electives, so there weren't that many. And they were like applied comics, so it was doing comics for the medical field, or they had like an autobiography comic class. And then the essential comic class was more of what I wanted to do. But then that was one issue with the first school, was it didn't really teach you the foundation of anything. So
it's getting, I think, more difficult to find decent art schools and stuff that actually teach foundational principles and things like that. And I know that my daughter switched majors because she was in animation design and everything was on computer and she wanted to draw. And it's like,
Yeah.
they don't even like do that anymore half the time. So
I did have one elective that was a 2D animated class taught by an animator named Tony White, who had apprenticed under the guy that did Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Oh, cool. So they actually were teaching traditional animation. Wow.
Yeah, so I have a few of the animations I did there from the bouncing ball to we did a walk cycle, and I made it harder for myself because I did like a fly character, so he had multiple limbs.
Yeah, you never think, right? Until you. I had a project when I was at film school. I did an animation class, and it was all traditional. And I remember it wasn't even 10 seconds, and I had like 100 and some drawings or whatever. And I was like, after I did that one pencil test of this character walking, I was like, I am never doing this again. It's like, this is just like too much work. So I really respect people that do traditional animation, because that's a lot of work.
Yeah, like I love 2D animation, and I think I'll do it as a hobby, but I want to do comics instead.
Well, yeah,
because it's still a lot of drawing, but it's not. You can get more done in a story than you can for like 2 seconds of animation.
So you started this children's book, which again is called The Patient Rock, and available on Amazon.
Yes.
You'll find a link in the description of this video. How long did it take you to complete this project? I'm assuming you wrote the thing first and then went in and decided where you were going to put your spot illustrations.
Yes. So the initial story was written in 2019, and I had a few illustrations that I did, but I was never really happy with them, so I kept tweaking them. Mm-hmm. And other projects kind of came in and got in the way a little bit. So like this year I was like, okay, I'm gonna just sit down and finish this so this story's complete and out of the way. That way I can get to my other projects and focus on that and actually complete stuff.
Right.
Yes.
It's easy to get distracted.
Yeah.
So you started this in school, but so then when was it finished? Did you finish it in school, or was it after you got out you finally finished it, kind of thing?
After I got out, I finally finished it. And then the second school, I went mostly for comics, and that one did teach foundational information, so that was a lot better. And I still have a lot to learn, but I'm working through it.
So is that your goal then, is after this children's book, which you've done and is for sale right now, again, link is in the description of this video, called The Patient Rock, is your next project going to be a comic book project then? Is that what you're shooting for? Or maybe?
Yes, I've been working on it.
Okay.
Like, these are my layouts so far.
Well, there you go. So you're one of those people, do you lay out the entire issue? And then, see, that's what you call responsible. I just start drawing, and that's why I'm constantly redrawing, so I get myself in trouble. So it's real. I admire people that do that, because I don't do it, and I don't know if it's just if I'm so impatient or if I just get distracted too easily. It's just like I always feel like if I'm not working on a page, then I'm not doing anything, even though, and I do layouts, but I do them one page at a time. Yeah. But doing the whole book, laying out the whole book, allows you to, design-wise, design the whole book and the flow of the book. So don't listen to me. Listen to Creative Fay. That's what I'm trying to say, because I am just slipshod and I'm all over the place. And I think that's a really good way to approach a project. Someday, maybe I'll actually even implement it on one of my own projects. So.
Now, with the Patient Rock in July, I plan on putting together a hardcover edition. So for the hardcover, you need like 72 pages, and it's like 31. So I'll be adding like concept art and like some of my notes from when I wrote the story.
Okay.
Which actually dug out some of my notebooks and stuff.
Oh my gosh, I have those too. So do you actually take a pen and write out?
Yeah.
I do the same thing. I don't type my notes. I write them, And then it's like trying to read. Then you leave them for a couple months. You go back, you can't even read your handwriting, right? And it's kind of like,
yeah. I eventually want to do something like okay. Oh, I passed it. So this is what one artist did with his notebook. Is he actually publishes them to sell too?
that's a clever idea, right? It's kind of like a lot of people are I mean, mostly artists. Let's be real. Most other artists are interested in that stuff, but it's people dig that stuff. Kind of seeing the process behind the finished product. So tell me real quickly here. Is this print to order? How do you set up your without getting too boring and uninteresting? How do you set up? How did you go about setting up your Amazon store?
So they have a site called Kindle Direct Publisher, and so you go through there and you it has where you submit your document, your PDF, and then it has several steps, like you write out like the information on the back. You can design the cover through there. The cover I kind of designed through Canva and that, which Canva is a free designs site that you can use.
So are they're then printing this and distributing it for you?
Yes.
When they get an order?
Yep.
So once you turn it in, once you turn in the digital files, you give them everything they need set up. Then when people order, Amazon or whoever with the Amazon label is then publishing this and putting it together and shipping it out to the customer.
Yeah, and that was partly why I tried it, was to see how the distribution is. Yeah. I know the comic artist Fabrizio Aiello is using them too for his book, Horse H. Hoover. So that's why I first decided to try it.
Yeah,
but
I didn't really know they were doing that. That's very interesting, and it's helpful if you don't want to deal with all the crap that I deal with when I'm in the printer and all that kind of stuff, which is just a whole nother thing.
Yeah.
So
distribution is one of the things that I've been thinking about, like when I go to do my comic, is if I do crowdfunding, then I'd have to have the pallets brought to where I live, which is an apartment, which probably wouldn't work.
Yeah, that is problematic. If you have big orders. Now, if you're just dealing with a couple hundred books or 500 books or something like that, it's a little bit more easy to manage. But still, in an apartment, it's a pain in the butt. But it's great to know that there's avenues like this for smaller press options where that kind of takes the mess out of your hands. You just do the book and let them worry about it. I'm sure go ahead.
I did hear, I'm not exactly sure why, but they say to actually buy the INS, like the barcode on it.
Right.
I didn't do that. I went with the free option.
Yeah, you can buy those. They're not horrible, but again, it depends on what how many numbers you think you're going to be pushing and all that kind of stuff. Is it worth the investment? And like, I think you can buy packages of like 5 ISBN numbers or 10 or whatever. And that's what I do for Wraith of God. And then I've got them and I can use them when I, put out the book.
Yeah. I think it might also be for like, if you decide to publish it somewhere else too, because they do have in like their terms of service about like, whether you're going to publish it just through Amazon or do it through other avenues. And they actually are doing a writing contest right now too, just so your viewers know. I went to check the other day and it said that it starts May 1st to the 25th. I think the winner gets 10,000 pounds.
Wow, that's more than $10,000.
Yes.
I often do recommend that to people, to young writers that want to break into whatever it is, like especially like because you see a lot of screenwriting competitions and things like that, and it's a good way to get seen and rather than saying, okay, I've got this manuscript, what do I do with it, right? How do I get someone to read it? Well, you enter some of these contests, you win one of them or something, and then suddenly some doors open. So those shouldn't be ignored. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
What were you going to say?
No. Go ahead. Finish your thought.
I forgot what I was going to say.
As my mom used to say, if you can't remember what you're going to say, it must not have been important. So I don't know if that's true or not, but she always said that. So, all righty. So we're going to wrap this up here pretty quick, but I just want to, any parting words, anything you want to let the folks know about this or your next project or anything like that before we wrap this up?
So keep an eye out for July, because that's when I'll be putting the hardcover together, and I will constantly be working on my comic. And I also have originals of like the artwork that's in it. So
cool. Now you also, I wanted to mention, you have a YouTube channel, right? I've been on it, Graham Nolan. You interviewed Graham as well, and Dave Sim, right?
Yes. No, Dave Sim's a little bit interesting because he doesn't use computers, so it's kind of through a third party, and so those are recorded videos. They're not live.
Yeah, I bet he was interesting anyway.
Yes, so. He is. And I have a new one.
Queen Mickey wants to know what the name of your comic is that you're going to be coming out with after this book.
It's The Silver Road.
The Silver Road. What genre does it fit into?
It's a dark fantasy.
Okay.
So it's still in the fantasy vein, and it'll probably be my last fantasy story, because after that I plan on doing either my superhero story or my ghost story. But
excellent. Well, it sounds like you got a lot of plans, and that's always good. You want to know where you're going after you're done. You want to do the next thing, and that's great. Thanks for coming on and giving us a few moments of your time. I was glad to be able to pump your book a little bit, and also your YouTube channel. You guys, there are links in the description of this video for both Creative Fay's YouTube channel, and if you want to go check out and order the Patient Rock or children's book, you'll find the link in there to Amazon as well. So thanks, Creative Fay. Take care, and we'll see you soon, I'm sure.
See ya. It was nice talking to you.
Hey, thank you. Bye-bye. All right, guys. That was Creative Fay, and that was The Patient Rock. How about that? So I'll try. I keep saying I'm going to do more like Creative Corner and stuff, and I don't, because I'm lazy. But I was glad to have her on. I'm always interested in finding out what motivates people, how they got from where they're at, from where they started to where they're at, what their path was, what their thought processes was. Everybody's, artistically speaking, everybody's a little bit different. And so it's always interesting, I think, to hear people's story. Queen Mickey says, is she selling original art? I believe that was what she was intimating that she was. So Creative Fay is on Twitter as Creative Fay, probably on Instagram as well. So she's pretty easy to find, and you can contact her directly, I would imagine, and ask her about, what she's got in terms of art and stuff like that. So it was a pleasure having her on. And now, as they say, folks, the show must go on. But first hit that like and subscribe right here. Past Master Dan is not only bringing up, he's demanding it. Please hit the like in a positive and affirming manner. Exactly. Because it helps this channel grow. And the only way I can put more comics in that rack back there is if you guys like and subscribe. So I don't really know if that's true, but it sounds good. So Marcus Killigrew says he was going to work with Creative Fay, but apparently tempers flared, creative, and then it just blew up. So a lot of drama involved in that. Actually, I have no idea. I just made that up. Sure. I like that. Oh, Creative Fay says, to Pity Ma, I have the Kindle copy of The Patient Rock. There you go. So Creative Fay is back in the chat. Creative Fay, let Queen Mickey know about original art, because she's asking about that. And I'm sorry, we probably should have spent a couple seconds talking about that. But anyway, here we go. All right, so moving right along, folks. I got to look at my list. Oh, here we go. I do this every once in a while because every once in a while I spend money, and you guys are just dying, I know, to find out what I bought. Now, if you remember, I had Pete Cimetti on last week. And after Pete got through ranting and raging about his printer, we did talk a little bit about hot comic books, or what the collectible market is doing right now, and what books maybe you should be looking at if you're a comic collector like myself. And we're not going to do that this week. We'll go back to that next week. This is, there's some different things going on here today. We always keep it fresh. But I think I did tell you guys that I did make a purchase, and this is the purchase that I made. This is Honda Fear number 18. Look at that Graham Ingalls cover, that old witch. And you can see how Wrightson was influenced by Ingalls, clearly. So you'll notice this book is not slabbed. So once again, I get the bum wrap. I've got about 1,500 comics in my collection, and only like 100 of them are slabbed. Okay. So the interesting thing about this book was that it was slabbed, and the guy who bought it cracked it open to read it. And, and here's the thing. Okay. Let's be honest. It probably cost him a couple $100 to read it, because he could have charged more, way more than what I paid for it, if it was slabbed. And that's just the reality of collecting, folks. So I got a good deal on it, and I'm happy that I did. I mean, I got a really good deal on it. So there you go. 1950, I don't know, it was 53, probably 54, maybe. Real great. Again, Graham Ingalls cover. This is Honda Fear 18. And the only significant thing about it is this really cool Graham Ingalls Old Witch cover, and that's why I got it. So, and because Golden Age horror is a good investment, doggone, even in Joe Biden's economy, Golden Age comics are a good investment if you can afford them. These are the more affordable, Golden Age books from the 50s are going to be cheaper than Golden Age war comics, which are going to be really expensive. So I don't really get those very often. In fact, I only have one because they're so freaking expensive. But this like, if you want to spend less than $1,000 on a Golden Age book, you can get horror books and in decent grade that will pay off in the long run. I'm telling you. So anyway, there you go. Honda Fear number 8. That's what I bought. Look at Pity Maw. Oh, this is a deal I would jump on, Aaron. Excellent, Aaron. See, just patting me on the back. Yeah, look at Marcus Killiger. There's some appreciation right there. Beautiful comic. Indeed, it is. We're talking about Pete Cimetti there, and he's doing a Fund My Comic campaign to raise money for printing equipment, and it's doing really well so far. Yeah, and he's going to, if he gets the whole thing together the way he wants to, he will take on small press jobs from other people. And Pete's a guy that, if you didn't watch last week's episode, he worked for a printer for years. So he has printing experience. He knows what he's doing, and has been publishing comics for a long time, like 20 years or something. And so it'll be interesting to see how it all comes together. Because we were talking about doing having him do, or have him broker a newsprint Savage Tales magazine for me. And now he'd actually probably publish it himself. I don't know. We'll see. It would depend on print runs, how many he can handle, all that kind of stuff. But I'm really interested in how this all turns out for Pete, because I am, as much as I'm a creative person, I also enjoy the business side of it and putting stuff together and manufacturing and that type of thing. Although it is a pain in the butt, but it's really sort of, when you're dealing with a printer, you're dealing with all the, when you're doing the editorial work and the production work, And as Creative Fay said, you know, you have the palette of books show up at your house, and you've got this finished product that you've had a hand in all the way from the very conceptual idea to the finished product. There's a real nice sense of accomplishment. I used to pour concrete. When I say that, I did it once for like one project over a winter break one time. And it was the hardest job I ever did in my life physically. But when you went home, you really felt like you'd done something, like you had accomplished something. And that's kind of the thing to me with the manufacturing, even if it's a comic book. You get this finished product and you feel like that you accomplished something. You did something. When you can hold this in your hand, this Kit Carter, of course, Planet Doom, the graphic novel, available on my website right now. You'll find a link in the description of this video. Take you right to my website so you can order back issues just like this. But, you know, I got a hardcover of this, the soft cover, and it was just like, it's really cool. So anyway, I do have a soft spot for manufacturing, even though it drives me crazy. All right, enough of that. Well, I have here on my list to do the Wraith commercial, but I already did it. So I'll just remind everybody that Wraith of God, Fear Hollow is there. It is. The links in the description of this video take you right to the campaign. We're trying to get this sucker to 80,000, and we're like, what, $1,058 away? Because that's the next stretch goal. That's a Trunk trading card. Trunk is the elephant character from the nightclub, which was a backup story in Wraith of God 2. So if you're just going, Aaron, what the heck are you talking about? Go to my website, aaronlopresti.com. You'll find a link in the description of this video, and you can order all the back issues that you've missed and get caught up. So that when I say these things, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. It's incredible how that works. So, yeah, there you go. Wraith of God 3. Highly recommend it. And I'm not just saying that because I'm like writing, drawing, and publishing it. That's probably why I'm saying it. But I do mean it, though. I think it's really good, and I think you'll enjoy it. Anyway, okay. So since it's kind of a truncated commercial there. You know what we didn't do earlier? We didn't do this public service announcement. Let's do this really quickly. That's right. Like and subscribe, you guys. Andy Smith has almost caught me in terms of subs numbers on the YouTube channel. I used to have like 1,000 sub lead on him, and he's almost caught me. Is it because my programming sucks, or is it just because you guys are not subscribing and you should be? Or maybe you're not subscribing because my programming sucks. I don't know. But have pity on me, for crying out loud. All right. Enough of this nonsense. Andy's getting a little ahead of himself here. It was a great ending for The Thing, Aaron, but in reality, I think both of them were things. That opinion hasn't changed several times over the years. That opinion has changed. Well, I may change it again in a few minutes, but we're not quite there yet because I do have a little show and tell thing I want to do here. And it's when I open up my flat files and find artwork, and here we go. All right, so we saw here's the close-up. This is the value stamp, okay, that will appear. This is the original artwork. It's not the value stamp. It's the artwork that will become the value stamp, the Garbage Man value stamp. This will be the third value stamp that will appear in Wraith of God 3. That was the first stretch goal. And what it does, I did this kind of like, based on Marvel's little bullpen bulletins page. I do something very similar to that. It looks exactly like that, except it doesn't have Marvel information. And then, of course, we have the Empire Comics value stamp that is in there as well, kind of mimicking that old school 70s kind of feel to the comic. So anyway, this will be the artwork that makes up the Garbage Man value stamp. And I'm coloring this right now, so we'll get a colored version up on the Indiegogo page as soon as it's done, and I'll probably put it on social media as well. This original art will be going up on the Indiegogo campaign for sale, so keep your eye. If you're an original art collector, keep your eyes open for that. And I will say this: this is a combination. I probably should be talking about this on Graybeards, which I probably will again on Wednesday. But this hand right here, this is all brush. A lot of this other is pen with a little bit of brush. But don't ask me why I did it, but I can tell you this: it took me probably 5 times as long to do it with a brush than it would have if I'd done it with a pen. But I think I did it because of this lighting effect. I just thought it needed to look. I needed a brush to make it look right, like on his fingers and his arm and stuff. So there you go. Now, there's one other thing, and I'm lying because this did not come out of my flat files. I just finished it, so it hasn't even made it to my flat files yet. Now, the second stretch goal is a trading card because I kind of dig the whole trading card thing. And the second trading card stretch goal, which we've hit, is sculpture. This is the stone chick from the nightclub. So she's like a golem, sort of, but she has like gray gargoyle power. She can turn things and people to stone. But anyway, so that's the piece I'm working on right now. And this will be a trading card. This is the art for the trading card. When I get this done, this, of course, will be up for sale as well on the campaign page. So there you go. That's what I'm working on right now. And in my spare time, while I'm working on, of course, the pages for Wraith of God 3. So anyway, there you go. This hairstyle, by the way, is based on Shelley cut her hair like that once back in the 90s. And I really liked it. And so I gave it to this character who I created in the 90s. So it was probably right after Shelley got that haircut. I was like, hey. So anyway, there you go. Bada boom, bada bing. That's the character called Sculpture. That's pretty good. So she's the stone chick in the nightclub. There you go. That, ladies and gentlemen, that is what's in my flat files this evening. Yeah, Stone Chick, that's her other name. Jimmy Owens, thank you. Your check's in the mail. Appreciate that very much. Inking art is no joke. That is for sure. So that's exactly how the golem I made would look. It's a hot golem. Corey Landis said if I could subscribe twice, I would. Thank you. I appreciate that. Okay. All right, let's get into it. Art of Roy is the most, I should say, the biggest contrarian I think I've ever met in my life. Although we've never met. Well, actually, we have. We've met on video. We haven't actually met in person. But anyway. All right. So let's see here. Let's talk about the thing. Can we? I've been watching some videos and just out of curiosity, right? Because the question at the end of the movie, right? We're going to skip right to I'm not going to talk about the whole movie. We're talking about the ending because the ending is McCready the thing? Is Childs the thing? Are both of them the thing? Or neither of them the thing, right? And there's all this stuff going back and forth, fan theories, and people getting like doing just ridiculous deep dives. And in my opinion, creating stuff that is just not there, or that they think maybe the filmmakers, are playing 4D chess. And let's be honest. I mean, I have a little bit of filmmaking experience, not a ton, but a little bit. And you have to be careful because mistakes are made in films. Like you shoot a scene and you screw it. You do something is wrong, like continuity is wrong. And maybe the budget doesn't allow you to go back and reshoot it. So you have to use that shot. And so then the audience thinks, oh my gosh, they're trying to send us a message. When really it was just a mistake that either nobody caught or they did catch, but they didn't have time to fix, or they didn't have the budget to fix. So there's all these things that you have to take into consideration when you're watching a film. was this really something the director was planting and wanted me to see, or am I just creating something out of whole cloth that really was never intended to be there? Now, with something like The Thing, that's the kind of movie it is. So you would, where you're not sure who's who or what's what, and that's thematically going through it the whole way. So you would think that the director and the writer, these are things they're considering, right? And so there's a lot of stuff in there that you would think, okay, he's giving us clues, he's giving us a red herring, he's doing this, he's doing that. Okay, and that stuff is generally fairly obvious without you having to create your own sort of fan fiction to put into the story that isn't there. So I just looked at what's actually in the movie that maybe I wasn't really paying attention to, because when I watch a movie, I don't sit there and just like analyze the crap out of it. I did that when I was in film school because they like trained us to do that. But now I just kind of watch films for their enjoyment, right? And The Thing came out before I went to film school. In fact, the first time I went to LA, Hollywood, and went to Anaheim to Disneyland, a buddy of mine, we graduated, we were 18, we drove down there, spent a week, and went to Disneyland, went to Knott's Berry Farm, then went up to LA and hung out around Hollywood and did movie poster shopping and all this kind of stuff. Went on the Universal's tour. And when we went on the Universal tour, this would have been 1982. They had these huge The Thing coming soon. They were like huge, massive posters, or, whatever you call them, murals that were on the sound stages and stuff. So it was very much in post-production, and it was something they were really pushing. So I remember it from, just right out of high school. And that's when I saw it, of course. And so I wasn't really overanalyzing it. And I even overanalyze it less now. I just watch it for the sheer enjoyment factor and the practical special effects. Okay. So one thing I want to point out before we get to the ending here. Some of you may know this, some of you may not know this, but comic book artist Mike Plug actually did a lot of the design work and storyboard work on this movie. And there you go, Mike Plug, The Thing. This, of course, is when what's-his-face's head rips off and gets spider legs out and crawls away. Thank you, Chris. 82 was the year I was born. Thank you very much. Really appreciate that. It was 82. It was 82, Pity Ma, 82. Creative Fay says she does know that. Well, a lot of people probably know that, but some people may not. Wrightson did a little work on this as well. But Plug did the storyboards and some design work. And there's this dog thing, I guess, changing. And it's interesting because at this point, they hadn't developed the special effects makeup, right? So that, you got a comic book artist just kind of winging it, coming up with ideas on what stuff looked like. There's a Cinefantastique issue devoted to The Thing, and it has Rob Bottin on the cover, the makeup effects artist, and like the spider head. He created one just for that shot. It wasn't the actual one used in the movie because I think they burned it. But so if you get that issue of Cinefantastique magazine, which was a big deal in the 80s, I don't think it exists anymore, but not too hard to find the issue. This is a page from the magazine. So they did this whole article on, the special effects makeup and stuff. And then they used a lot of Plug's storyboards. And this is some of Plug's storyboarding for this effect shot where, oh geez, what's the character's name that was had the heart attack and his chest split open and bit off Doc's arms? Head falls over. Do they mention his name here? I don't think they do. He's using him as the corpse. But anyway, so that was kind of, and in fact, my first published work was in Cinefantastique magazine, believe it or not. If you get the Psycho 2 issue with Anthony Perkins on the covers, you'll find my drawings inside. Not not for Psycho 2, but for Jacob's Ladder. So just throw that out there. If you want to see what my artwork looked like when I was like 19, there you go. Anyway, so, okay, so here we go. Let's bring up this visual. This is the question, right? Is Childs the thing? Is McCready the thing? Are neither of them the thing? Are both of them the thing? According to Carpenter, and again, directors say stuff, and but he said one of them is the thing. He did say that in an interview. Now, he says he knows which one. Now, Kurt Russell later said in an interview that was BS, that Carpenter didn't know, that they had never decided. But, could those be red herrings? I mean, I don't know. But here's the thing. There was a question about Childs having no reflection in his eyes. Okay, so Dean Cundey, the guy who did the cinematographer for the movie, said that he did that, but only in the blood sequence where they're testing the blood. So Palmer had no reflective light in his eyes. And he was, of course, the thing in that scene. Everybody else had reflection. He said, but that was only for that scene. So it wasn't something they carried throughout the entire film. So we can't say that Childs is a thing simply because there's no reflection in his pupil. Okay. Now, secondly, they'll say, well, he had his earring in, right? And the thing can't reproduce metallic substances. Well, that was in the prequel, which was done, 20 years after this? So it wasn't a thing in this, pardon the expression, it wasn't a thing in this movie. So therefore, we can't really count that. Okay, so what can we count on? Well, first of all, some people suggest that McCready's the thing. That's absurd. That just is not in the movie. That, to me, is piecing together stuff and scenarios that aren't presented in the film, right? To kind of make up your own sort of reasoning and motivations behind where certain things were done or whatever. There's no way McCready was the thing, because the idea is that McCready became the thing, and then the things were all these independent things, and they would kill each other for their own survival. I think that's people making stuff up. He kills the Blair creature, right? Near the end of the movie. Now, how do we know he killed? Well, first of all, how do we know this was the Blair thing? Well, I'll show you right here. That's Blair's half of his head right there. Okay. So the thing that comes up through the floorboards in the basement at the end of the film, that's the Blair thing. And we've seen the Blair thing because it got Gary, put his hand into his face like this and drug him off. It killed Knowles, even though we don't see that. That was actually a scene in the movie and they cut it, or it was originally storyboarded, but they decided not to do it. So we know this is Blair. And we cut outside. McCready says, F you too, throws the Molotov cocktail and the dynamite's there and everything. And then we cut outside and we have this huge explosion. And what do we hear? We hear the screams of the thing. So we know the Blair thing was basically fried. Okay, so there's no way it could have infected McCready between the time that this thing blew up and he makes his way outside before he runs into Childs. And all of his actions throughout the film are pretty clear that he's not the thing. I mean, it'd be just colossal misdirection, which I just don't buy. So we're gonna leave that, and just go with the idea that McCready is not the thing, because I just don't think that's a popular theory, and it's a theory that's really out there in terms of how they make it work. So the question is Childs the thing? And I have come to the conclusion based on, and I'll give a little credit here, there's a channel out there called The Deep Dive. And this guy did a 20-minute video on this, pointing out actual clues that are in the film itself, not theoretical, I think this or whatever, but stuff that's actually in the film. And I'm walking away convinced that, well, I'll show you in just a second. Where is my film clip? How embarrassing. Is this it? That's it. Okay, let's watch this. Okay, he points this out, and it's something that I didn't notice before, because you really got to be paying attention. If you're watching this film and paying attention, you catch this stuff. If you're just watching the film for enjoyment, a lot of this stuff slips by because it's background stuff and things like that. So he did this whole video on the timeline of when people were infected, right? Which I don't really care about because I think that's pretty obvious. You know, when did Palmer get in? When did Norris? Does it really matter? It doesn't. And but anyway, it is to people that like to do deep dives, which this video did. This is the thing that interests me. Let's take a look at this. I have to have the sound off, obviously. Maybe I should share it with you first. That might be helpful to you. Okay, so let's take a look at this. Now, this is when they took, they went out to check McCready's cabin because the light was on, right? So Childs is back in the compound looking out the window, right? And then, as you remember in the film, they see him, I think Knowles sees him take off out in the snow. And then like 2 seconds after he leaves the compound, the lights go out, right? Okay. So let's take a look at this. So it cuts from the shot out in McCready's shack to this. Okay. So what do we see? We start with a pan shot of the compound. Then we look down into the basement, right? Now this is where, that's the door to the basement. That's where the heat generator is. Okay. And we know that Blair has access to there because he shows up at the end of the film and kills Gary and Knowles. And so the underground tunnels that he dug underneath McCready's shack, where they had him confined, he dug it in there and started building a spaceship. So we know he's an alien. And so he obviously dug a tunnel to the basement. Okay, so we're getting this little shot of the basement, right? So now look what happens. So now we get a shot of the room where Childs was. Okay, and then there's this room next door to it, which is a storage room. Okay, now here's the shot of Childs before he leaves. So what are we seeing here? See that blue coat right there? It ain't there after he runs out. So what does that mean? Well, what that probably means is they either made a huge continuity mistake and the continuity girl didn't catch it. Seems unlikely in a film like this that they would, they used to go into these rooms, or they would have a scene and they would have a continuity person, and she or he would take Polaroid shots of the room from all these different angles, so that when they had to go back in and do it, if they had to go back in and do it later, that they could match the continuity. Okay. So they were aware of this stuff. They weren't just randomly, hang a bunch of coats in there. They had this stuff set up, right? So what do we see? We see Childs here he's wearing a blue parka, right? And there's another one right there. Okay. But after he's run out into the snow, we come back in here and what do we see? That blue coat is gone. Okay. Now, of course, he's showing, okay. So what's he pointing out in this video? The storage room door is open, right? The blue coat is gone. And we go into the room. The door outside is open. Okay. And so is this door right here to the storage room. So what this guy is intimating, and what I think Carpenter is intimating here, is the Blair thing came up through the furnace room, or the generator room, excuse me, up the stairs, through the storage room, through this open door, which is now open, took out Childs, which, of course, whenever they assimilate somebody, they rip through their clothing, right? That's been established. So Childs then has to take the blue coat off the hanger that was here and put it on, and then run out into the snow. Okay. And the other thing about this is Childs would not run out into the snow on a wild goose chase by himself without yelling at McCready and those guys up there in the tower going, "Hey, Blair's over here. Come on, let's go." You know, whatever. Didn't say anything. Seems unlikely. Okay. And then this is either a huge continuity error in the film, or it was done on purpose. And the only purpose this could possibly serve is to let us know that Childs got taken over and that he lost, his coat got ripped. And so he had to take the other blue coat that was sitting there and put it on. Now, someone says, I don't think that's the same shot. But what you would argue here is, well, what lumber? What are you talking about? He says, where's the lumber? I don't see any lumber. Can you guys hear that? My daughter's playing like a Rolling Stone in her room. I don't know if you guys can hear it or not. So if Blair attacked Childs here and killed him and assimilated him, there would have been a, there would have been a ruckus and stuff knocked over, maybe stuff rearranged. And I get that. But I think that blue coat is a pretty damning piece of evidence, unless you just want to believe, like I said, that it's a huge continuity error, a huge continuity error that they missed. And that is possible. But you take it into account also that Childs ran out in the snow without telling anybody, which seems very unlikely considering how cautious he was. What are you saying here? That there's two windows? Am I? See, that guy doesn't think so. Well, yeah, but that window's behind this door, dude. The door is closed. Okay? The door is closed. I see the wood, what you're saying. The door is closed. Now it's open. So that window that he was looking out is on the back side of that door, along with the wood, if it's still there, potentially. So there you go. Now, you could also argue, and this is the problem that could be a continuity issue. Okay? Not this guy's face. But this coat, this tan coat, which is now where the blue coat used to be, is now on the hook where the blue coat used to be, instead of back here. So you could say, yes, it was a continuity error, or was it intentional because it was a mess and the thing just hung up whatever coats were around there to make it look like he had never been there. Okay. So anyway, I think that's potentially damning. But here's the final straw for me. Okay. So like, again, there's Blair down in doing the thing to Gary. And Blair doesn't have his coat on. Is that Blair's coat hanging right there? I don't know. Okay. So at the end of the film, what happens? There's the theory that McCready comes out with a bottle of whiskey, right? That it's actually a Molotov cocktail because he was throwing them at the creature, and that's what it is. And then when Childs shows up, he gives him this thing and he drinks it and it's full of kerosene. Okay. And so that's how we know and then we cut to McCready right after he takes a sip, right after Charles takes a sip of that whiskey or whatever. And McCready smiles and then the music starts. Okay. So that to me thematically lets us know that McCready realizes something. Okay. He realizes that Charles is the thing. Now, I don't buy the theory that was that the whiskey bottle was full of kerosene, because he had no way of knowing he was going to run into Charles when he went out there. So why would he bring a bottle of kerosene out with him? Okay. I think it is a bottle of whiskey, but that doesn't excuse Charles taking a drink of it, because Charles would know, just as McCready knows, that you can't share food. You can't share a glass with anybody. So if Charles actually suspected McCready of being the thing, the last thing he would do is take a drink from that whiskey bottle. And yet he does without even hesitating. And I think that is what keys McCready to knowing that Charles is the thing. And that's where I stand right now. I think Charles was the thing. So there you go. Killraiser says, I'm sorry, that's not the same shot. How is it not the same shot? That's the exact same room that Charles was in, and then he's not in it. Now the coats have been rearranged. I'll give you that. But you can look at that. Killraiser's not agreeing with me, but that's fine. But everybody else thinks it's the same shot. So you can argue with me and everybody else. You can look at the corner of that room. I have to bring it up again here. And this is what's so great about these movies. And this is why they don't tell you, because they want people to fight about it. It keeps you talking about the movie. Okay, you have to ask yourself thematically, why is Carpenter showing us that? And then why is he showing us this? Now, this is not a mistake. This is the stuff directors think about. They are storytelling. And they are telling you, boom, that's important. And this is important. The question is why? Okay, let me show you something real quick here. Killraiser and I are going to fight about this. And I'll show you why this is the same room. Wait till the Charles shot comes up. Hang on. Where are you, Charles? Okay, there he is. Okay. Look at this wall right there. It is at like a 45-degree angle. Okay, it's a crooked wall. And this is a crooked wall right there. It's just the window is right just inside that door. That is absolutely the same room. At least I think it is. Oh, I'm sorry. Gosh darn it. Sorry, guys. Let me do that again. Sharing is important. I know. And sometimes I don't share very well. All right. Here's why. Let's do the same thing again. Here's why this is the same. I believe this is the same room. Okay. The window that Charles is looking out, see that? That's a 45-degree angle right there. That wall is angled. This is flush, straight, flat to us. Then it angles towards the door, right? See right down here? That wall is angling towards the door. Stay put. Okay. That wall is angled. This wall is angled. That window is just right behind this door. See that right there? That little piece of wood right there? I don't think that's the hinge. I think it's this wood rack right here. It might be the hinge, though. Or is that the hinge? Anyway, that wall is crooked like this one is. I'm totally convinced that's the same room. Okay, there we did. All right, shared it. I shared it. Dang it. Look at the pegs and the coats hanging near the window. It all changes. I'm not sure. I get you guys are saying that there's like angles are different, and look above the door, you see the line of the wall right in the center. It could be lighting. I don't know why you would think it's not the same room. What's the point of... It doesn't make sense that it wouldn't be the same room. No, it doesn't mean it wasn't. I mean, I get maybe what you're implying was that Childs was in a different room, but then why are they showing us this room? This is the door that Childs had to have gone out to go outside, right? Why else are they showing us this? What are we missing here? I don't see the hooks aren't different. They're shinier because the lighting's different. I'm not really... I don't see what you guys are seeing. So anyway, again, I wasn't sharing. I know. Gosh darn it. Well, it's definitely not shot at the same angle. I'm not going to argue with that. But I didn't see... I just looked at it without sharing with you guys again. Sorry. But I'm not seeing the variances. I just think that the lighting's different on it. The angle might be a little bit different. But again... And there's Kellraiser. So regardless, I still believe Childs is alien because he drank after MacReady. And that, to me, is the kicker. I don't think he would have run out into the snow without telling somebody or yelling at him to let him know. Why would you do that? You're just setting yourself up to make them think that you're the thing now by leaving them alone. And we're going to assume that Blair got Childs, then went back down and took the generator and killed the generator. So you basically have two thing entities at this point. You have Childs and you have Blair. And then MacReady destroys Blair, so all you have left is Childs. And so if it isn't Childs and MacReady, so if it isn't Childs, then they made Childs do two things completely out of character. One, running away without telling anybody. And two, drinking from MacReady's whiskey bottle when he knows that would be the stupidest thing he could possibly do. So the question then is, what does MacReady do about it? And maybe if they do a sequel, which Leg Kick was talking about, maybe they address that, right? So we shall see. Pantheon says, totally disagreement. He says, MacReady's the thing because in the middle of the movie, he talks about no, the thing wanting to freeze. And at the end of the movie, he's fine with him and Childs freezing. Is he though? That's what he says to Childs, but is he figuring out a way to get that flamethrower from Childs so he can fry him? I don't think that's enough evidence to make me go that direction. He's just, I mean, he's basically killing off all of his thing buddies, if that's actually the case. And I don't go there. I won't go there. I don't think that is supported enough. And I think there's more evidence pointing towards Childs being the thing than anybody else. Now, granted, they could come out and say, no, this, that, or the other. And, we just fell for all this red herring stuff. But you'd like to think that a movie like this, that their Carpenter and gang is, doing all this with a purpose, so. This is what I originally thought. I didn't think either one of them was the thing. I think death was inevitable and they just want to get boozed up before they die. You could make that argument too. You know, McCready's just tired and fed up, and Childs, I don't know, Childs still holding that flamethrower though. So you'd think that he was maybe a little bit more interested in survival than maybe McCready was at that point. The fact he doesn't even hesitate to drink it, you know, maybe take it and look at it and go, what the heck? You know, even that would have been something. But I think they wanted it to be ambiguous, obviously, because that's the whole point of the film is who's the thing. And telling us who the thing is doesn't really serve the purpose of the film. And it doesn't keep us talking about it, 40 years later or whatever it is. So anyway, there you go. That's my thoughts on it. And until something really more convincing than what I just saw in terms of evidence within the film, within the structure of the film, I'm going to go with Childs being the thing. Well, yeah, there is that, again, James, there is that nihilistic viewpoint, right? That we're all going to die anyway, who cares? But the idea is, then why kill the thing at all, right? It's like they wanted to keep it from getting back to civilization and destroying the world, which is essentially what would happen, right? It's just like Invasion of the Body Snatchers all over. So you'd have to think that they have enough of their humanity. And what does McCready say at the end? He says, let's sit here a while and see what happens. He doesn't say, what the heck, we're going to die anyway. McCready, I got a feeling that McCready wasn't going to, if he was convinced that Childs was the thing, he wasn't going to let that, he wasn't going to go down without at least trying to take him out. Like Max said, if either has a surprise for the other, I don't think we're in any condition to do anything about it. And he says that. Get his guard down, maybe. I don't know. It was purposely. They shot like 3 or 4 different endings for this film, by the way, which probably most of you know. And they ended up going with the one with the ambiguous ending because that's what suited the film best. But that doesn't mean that there wasn't intent behind it. So we're left to continue guessing. But I do think there's evidence in the film that sort of points us in a direction. And again, that could be red herring, could be continuity mistakes, could be some stuff that wasn't intended that we think is intended. And you can never know for sure because Carpenter is not going to tell the truth. And I think Kurt Russell has been pretty frank with it, but I don't think he necessarily knew everything either. And Carpenter could have changed his mind about things and what he wanted. So there you go. Have we really solved anything? Which theory are we talking? Okay, this has been debunked though, because there actually, if you look at it closely, there is steam coming out of his mouth. It's just the lighting. When he's standing there, there is some steam coming out of his mouth. And then when he sits down, it isn't there. And I think that's the lighting. It's not the, I think that is not accurate. But then again, if a hot needle affects the blood of the thing when alcohol has the same type of effect, where each part of the thing would react. Well, would it? I'm not sure I'm following your reasoning. I mean, I know what you're saying, but I'm not sure that I agree. Andy, to wrap this up, because we could go on talking about this. I was wanting to wrap this show up early, and here we are like 30 because we started talking about the thing. This was a masterpiece in my humble opinion, Aaron, and I agree. It was not appreciated when it came out. And, well, the thing breathes, and that's true. When when they caught him running out in the snow, the bald guy, and he was half changed, there was steam coming out of his mouth then. So just to suggest that that is even a thing, again, sorry, pardon the pun, doesn't make sense. So, Paul Taylor, you do, even though I just gave away the ending. It has become one of my favorite movies. The Carpenter trilogy with Kurt Russell, The Thing, Big Trouble in Little China, and Escape from New York are like my 3 favorite Carpenter films. And it's probably just, you know, I mean, Kurt Russell's a big part of that because I love Kurt Russell. But anyway, I just saw it at OMSI, the Oregon Museum of Science and Industry. They have one of those humongo theaters, and we saw it in there because they had a sci-fi film festival. That was really cool to see it huge like that. So anyway, all right, guys, we've got to stop talking about this because the only thing that I'm more sure of, the only thing I'm more sure of than the ending of The Thing right now is the fact that Bigfoot does not exist. All righty. This first picture here, courtesy of Paul Ogg. I want to thank Paul for sending me this. Oh, that's too bad. Said Martin Pascoe just passed away. People are dropping. We're at that. I remember, I don't know if you guys remember, but a couple of years ago, I had Keown early in my show, life of my show. I had Dale Keown on as a guest and interviewed him and stuff. And he was like, yeah, we're getting to that age where people are starting to pass away. And it's really sort of unsettling. And yeah, it is very unsettling. But anyway, let's keep it positive here. Again, courtesy of Paul Ogg. Appreciate him sending me this. Here you go. Sasquatch ain't sneaking up on no one with all that clapping. Now, clearly this is an AI generated image for laughs, but could not resist throwing this one up there. So that's a Bigfoot booty call right there. And actually, this is probably as compelling as anything I'm going to show you after this. So, woo! All right, here we go. What do you guys think of this? Rocky Mountain Sasquatch Organization, that's actually a thing, is responsible for this very, very short video. All right, so allegedly they're telling us this is a Bigfoot carrying off a deer or something. So here's Bigfoot's head. There's his back, his leg, and that apparently is the deer. I think there's like or maybe it's just a still. Yeah, thank you very much for nothing. Again, it's so out of focus. It's hard to. I'm just going to go out on a limb and assume that it's a doctored photo because that's what I always assume. If you don't have the common courtesy to give me a picture in focus, what am I supposed to think? Geek Avenger says that was Big Mike in the last shot, I think. Glitch is like, wait, a Bigfoot image being faked? Are you kidding me? Of course, Captain Bitbo saying that just looks like Kelsey. But I guess, I mean, that could be a lawn chair for all I know. I mean, you just can't see. So that's the Bigfoot Society there. Now here's one allegedly screenshot or a wildlife camera. Why can't I even think of what it's called now? Taken in Oregon. I don't know what I'm supposed to make of this. Bigfoot disco move, maybe. Trail cam, thank you. That's what I'm trying to think of. This is allegedly a black and white trail cam shot. Now you've got a face, you got the nose, and you got the brow there, and there's the mouth, and big, huge, old, fuzzy legs, big arms. I don't really find this to be I mean, it's either been an image that's been put in the photograph, or even if it's an actual image. At this point, all I can say is this is a guy in a suit. The arms aren't particularly like super long. I mean, I don't know, the face. I'm not buying the face. Not buying the face. Looks too humanoid to me. MPC Oasis says that looks pretty real, Aaron. Now, Paul Taylor is our resident biologist, and Paul says looks like he's holding the branch for balance as he walks across the tightrope. So, Jerry Rasco, the Bigfoot appears to use Pantene to get such flowing hair. Perhaps. I don't know. Don't know. It looks so different than all the other Bigfoot faces I've seen. That's the thing. It's like they all look so different. Then how can we, there's no continuity between them. Captain Boo said, yeah, he looks like a French tapper. Looks like Tim Waltz prancing on stage. Yeah, I don't think we're buying that one. All right, now, almost embarrassed to show this one, but hey. Okay, allegedly, this is in somebody's neighborhood, so I don't know if they live in Alaska or whatever, but come on, man. This is a Joe Biden special. Come on, man. Look at how stiff that is. Is that a puppet? Is that like a cardboard cutout? What are we even looking at here? I know this is somebody's car light. You couldn't get this picture in focus? Look at how like straight up and down flat. This is just you're not even trying at this point, other than the fact that you either have a doll or a cutout of some kind or something, but it's like, and look at the hands. Maybe it's a dude in a costume. I mean, it could be a guy in a costume because that costume is just like not functional. But look at, he has human hands. Look at the flesh tone right here. I don't even know what's going on up here in that face. It's like he was the drummer for Foghat or something. I'm not even sure, but look at those are human hands coming out of a costume. I can't even. I'm just saying, you bring this into Aaron's cryptid class, Cryptid 101, F. I can't take it. He has 2 sets of feet. Yes, it does look that way, doesn't it? A balloon with fur glued on it. Printed. That could be absolutely a cardboard cutout. It absolutely could be. Spaceman says, never in focus. Welcome to 1968 technology. Amen, brother. But we're not done yet. Here we go. This one actually moves, but only for about 2 seconds, which of course begs the question, why didn't you film longer? Here we go. I'm glad they have the arrow pointing this out. We never see it. And that's it. And then it repeats. That's all you could get for me? Why couldn't you film longer? I'll tell you why, because the more he comes out in the open, the more ridiculous this looks that it's a guy in a costume. Bent over. Come on, man. Geek Avenger says, for $5, thanks for the awesome work on the birthday present that Squeaky commissioned. That's right. I did a Doctor Strange, a color Doctor Strange for Geek Avenger, which I will show on Graybeards on Wednesday. Okay, so what's the takeaway? What's the takeaway from this? I mean, if this is Bigfoot, first of all, why is he walking like this on all fours? I mean, did he lose his contact lenses? Stilts. Yeah, I mean, he could have stilts on his arms because it looks like his legs are okay, but his arms are too long. I don't know. Paul Taylor, the takeaway is it's all fake. Colored Doctor Strange, absolutely. Human in a black sheet. I might have a little fur on that sheet. Captain Bitboats and Man with Arm Stilts, I completely agree. And look at that little tiny hand right there. Look at that right there. That's a stilt, right? Like a wood, that's the wood thing on the stilts. And that's why they cut this off so quickly. And we only get like 2 seconds of movement, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, repeat. 1, 2, 1002, 1003, repeat. 1001, 1002, 1003, and there's an edit in there as well, and then it repeats. Why wouldn't you just film this thing walking all? Because you're going, yeah, Bob, this really looks bad, man. This really looks bad. Don't worry, we'll blur it up in post-production. Oh my gosh. Marcus Kilger, that's the question. How do they think of these dumb stunts? I don't know, but they're not thinking very hard. I swear to you guys, I am going to do my own Bigfoot video before I'm through, and it'll look good, but it still won't look good enough. Oh my gosh. Well, there you go, folks. That's it. That's all I got for today, and that's plenty. We had lengthy discussion, or presentation, I guess I should say, on The Thing, and we still can't agree. Most of us think Childs is The Thing. Some think McCready is. Some think neither are. Will there ever be an answer? Will John Carpenter on his deathbed reveal the secret? Or does he even know? That's the other thing. Do we believe that they even came to a conclusion about that, or they just couldn't decide and said, we'll let the audience fight about it? And that's exactly what we're doing. So they got us. But it's still a great movie, and regardless of what you think about the ending, Geek Avenger for 5 says that Bigfoot looks like Ethan Van Sciver's mom. Wow. I hope Ethan is not watching. Crush him like that. Say stuff like that about his mom. All right, folks. Big news. I'll just let it out because you're here on Sunday on Mother's Day. Dan Brereton will be joining us on Graybeards. How about that? Will we all be painting? I have no idea, but he's got a new Nocturnals project coming out. He wants to plug it. And so we have the awesome Dan Brereton. So that will be really cool. So keep your eyes open for Graybeards. And what do we got? Professionals coming up on Tuesday. Might be on Confiscate Kings, might not. I don't know. Since it's become a draw stream, I'm, show up when I feel confident that I'm going to win. So anyway, again, thank you guys for joining me. Thank you for the super chats. Appreciate it very much. Thank you for Creative Fay for coming on with Creator's Corner. We got to plug her book a little bit, and you guys want to check that out. Wraith of God 3, you'll find a link in the description of this video. My webpage, web store, if you want to get back issues or prints or any original art, follow that link. It'll take you right there. If you want to order Creative Fay's book, The Patient Rock, you'll find a link in the description of this video. Also to her YouTube channel, where she does interesting interviews with people like me, and Graham Nolan and Dave Sim. So all those links are there. Check them all out. We appreciate you guys. Have a wonderful Mother's Day. And we'll see you next time right here on Aaron Live. Good night, everybody.